Dark romance, the most divisive book genre in recent years. As dark romance has garnered massive popularity online, many readers have questioned the ethics of the genre due to its adult themes. Morally gray characters, dubious consent, and forbidden love. Oh, and organized crime. The book talk girlies love a man in the mob. But the main argument against dark romance is that it romanticizes or even fetishizes trauma, especially women's sexual trauma. Some critics have gone as far to describe dark romance enthusiasts as porn addicts. That's a bit of a reach, in my opinion, though if you only consume dark romances or you can't read a book without spice in it, that might be a different story. No pun intended. Meanwhile, readers in defense of dark romance would say that it's purely fictional, so there's no harm. Just because they read about taboo things doesn't mean they would approve or partake in those situations in real life. This is mostly my take on dark romance as someone who never reads it. Everyone has fantasies to varying degrees, and dark romance novels allow people to navigate them in a safe, controlled manner. I've even seen some readers claim that dark romance has helped them heal from past trauma. They view it as a way to take their power back. As long as people can differentiate between fantasy and reality, it's fine. I also think some dark romance hate and romance hate in general stems from misogyny. People already clown on romance a lot because the target audience is mainly women, and if women like something, then it must be inferior. But of course, no genre is above criticism, and you're not a misogynist if you hate romance. But it would be disingenuous to say that misogyny doesn't play a part in it to some degree. Even so, critics have brought up some valid concerns. Dark romance does contain a lot of triggering themes that can hit too close to home for some people. So while we shouldn't shame dark romance fans for what they like, within reason, we should also respect readers who choose to avoid these novels. While the point of dark romance books is to explore dark themes, I assume that's why it's called dark romance. Is there a limit to how dark these novels can get? Should there be a limit? Well, if you were to ask the New South Wales Police, the answer is yes. Hi sinners, and welcome to today's installment of Hey, Let's Not Kiss Our Family. I uploaded the pilot, if you will, of Hey, Let's Not Kiss Our Family almost 5 years ago, and this is the first time authorities have gotten involved. Quite frankly, I'm surprised it took this long. Be warned though, this video has a laundry list of triggers, so please watch at your own risk. If you or a loved one is struggling with anything we cover today, I will have resources linked in the description. So today's story actually takes place in Australia. That's right, we're going down under, babes. Just like my faith in humanity. And the person at the center of this controversy is Australian indie author Tori Woods. On March 1st, Tori Woods revealed the cover of her upcoming dark romance novel, Daddy's Little Toy, set to release on March 16th. One thing about Tori Woods is that although she's relatively new to the book scene, she's already released 2 books in the past 6 months under this pen name. More on that later. Now, what is Daddy's Little Toy about? Despite the baby pink cover with the letterblock title, this isn't the wholesome story you might think it is. According to the now deleted Goodreads listing, Daddy's Little Toy is a loose retelling of Cinderella, where Lucy's family are neglectful and cruel. As Lucy grows up, she finds herself attracted to her father's best friend. Little does she know that Arthur feels the same way. Together, they explore a daddy and little girl relationship, falling hard and fast for each other. Yeah, the word retelling is doing a lot of the heavy lifting. Daddy loves spoiling his little toy and treating her like the princess she is. Happily ever after guaranteed with extra sparkles and unicorns. So what Woods is describing is a daddy-dom little girl or DDLG relationship. A form of age play where the man acts like the caregiver or daddy and the woman submits to him as his little. DDLG is considered a BDSM dynamic, and BDSM is another adult theme commonly found in dark romance books. From my understanding, DDLG relationships aren't always sexual in nature, but they can be. Ultimately, this kind of dynamic should involve 2 or more consenting adults, and on paper, Arthur and Lucy are both adults. Arthur is 47 and Lucy is freshly 18. Yep. If the 29-year age difference didn't unsettle you, this direct quote from Arthur might. Wanting a woman as sweet as my friend's toddler daughter, Lucy, who was 3 at the time, Ew. So Arthur blatantly admitted that he'd been eyeing Lucy since she was a toddler. A baby girl. When Lucy was 3, he would have been 32. Awesome. He's lucky he's fictional, is all I'm gonna say. Here we have another direct quote from Arthur, and somehow it's way worse. I made the mistake of peeking between her legs, only to find dark curls hiding what I'm sure was and still is the most perfect, untouched, pretty little pink and while I'm impartial to a little pubic hair, I generally prefer my baby girls bare. It makes the little feel more authentic. Little girls don't have hair on their private parts. Hey, so what do you mean by authentic? Now, sadly, or thankfully, we only have these 2 direct quotes from the book because it's been removed from all platforms, and that's thanks to a screenshot of a Goodreads review that's been floating around. This person claimed they had a DNF a quarter of the way through because of the amount of pedophilia. So this is more than enough for me. Thank you very much. So I've been a full-time YouTuber for almost 4 years now, and it's genuinely the best job I could ever ask for. I get to work from home every single day, doing what I love, and not to mention, my boss is pretty cool. However, anyone who also works from home knows how easy it is to lose focus. Whether it's the never-ending construction outside or your high-energy pets playing at all hours of the day, the constant noise can get overwhelming. And one way I block out the world around me is with some noise-canceling headphones. And lately, my go-to pair has been Raycon's everyday earbuds, who are kindly sponsoring today's video. So let me tell you about them. My everyday earbuds have been a game changer. Their active noise cancellation blocks out background noise like no other, allowing me to get more work done throughout the day. On the contrary, the everyday earbuds also offer a feature called awareness mode, which amplifies the sounds around you so you can keep track of your surroundings. This is why I also love wearing my everyday earbuds on my outdoor runs. All right, this run's about to go crazy with my new Raycon everyday earbuds. And after countless design iterations, Raycon has managed to create earbuds that seamlessly fit the curvature of the human ear. And safe to say, these things are not falling out anytime soon. With a 32-hour battery life, it feels like my everyday earbuds last forever. A 10-minute charge alone yields 90 minutes of battery. And at half the price, Raycons offer similar features as other premium earbuds. So if you'd like to try them out for yourself, scan the QR code right here or go to buyraycon.com/Forcino to get 20% off Raycon's best-selling everyday earbuds. That's buyraycon.com/Forcino. So thank you to Raycon for supporting the channel and ensuring that me and my sinners have the best listening experience possible. Now let's get back to your scheduled programming.
Hey, Pink Pony Club.
And the cherry on top of this pie is that Tori Woods dedicated Daddy's little toy to her children, allegedly, hypothetically in Minecraft, saying that she can never look at them the same. Her kids are all under the age of 5 to boot. First of all, you should never dedicate a dark romance or smutty book to your children or family in general, much less one about a grown man grooming a teenager since she was 3. As in, around the age her children are right now. Oh, and another thing, the way Tori Woods promoted Daddy's little toy also rubbed me the wrong way. Ever since Book Talk took off, authors and publishing companies have pivoted the way they market books. They tend to use cutesy, aesthetically pleasing graphics and microtropes to entice readers. And of course, Tori Woods did just that. Lucy. I can't help myself when I'm around him. I wet my pants in excitement. At night, I use my unicorn Stuffy's horn on myself. All I think about while I'm being naughty is my dad's best friend and how I wish he could be my daddy. I'm the freak of the family. My dad is disappointed in me, my mom dismisses me, and my sister despises me. I'm delusional if I think Arthur would ever want to play with me. Now Arthur, my juicy Lucy. Ew. She's finally 18. Ew. I've wanted her longer than I can ever legally admit. Triple ew. She doesn't know it yet, but she's going to be my perfect little toy, my precious little unicorn, and I'm going to be her daddy. When I see her playing dress-ups, I forget about the fact that she's my best friend's barely legal daughter or that her mom hasn't protected and cherished her like she should. All I know is that she's meant to be my baby girl. The infantilization of Lucy with the unicorn stuffed animal on top of the barely legal stuff just adds to the depravity of it all. Arthur's the embodiment of that one Impractical Joker's Punishment where Murr presented the countdown to legal sculpture.
Can we put a clock on love?
Yes. Side note, if you've kept up with recent news, you know that this clip has aged very poorly. I know I said that what you read or write doesn't necessarily reflect what you do in real life, and I still believe that. But there comes a point. It's important to discuss these dark topics, but we have to do it with tact and avoid glorifying them. Once you start to sound like a pedo apologist, maybe put the pen down. This is also awful BDSM representation. I know that's not the main problem, but I wanted to mention that. Sure. This was fiction. Arthur and Lucy are not real people, and no one was harmed in the making of Daddy's Little Toy besides all of us who had the unfortunate pleasure to read this. But it's naive to think that fictitious media and art don't influence society. And in my opinion, books like this can further normalize the sexualization of young girls, if not done properly. Back in December, Woods was interviewed on a podcast called Indie Author Max to promote her Christmas-themed smut, Mistletoe, and I think this quote foreshadowed the current debacle.
If my laptop was ever lost and someone picked it up, I would be humiliated with like my Google history.
Obviously, people were outraged by Daddy's Little Toy, even readers in the dark romance community, to the point where Woods had the novel taken down from Amazon just 3 days after release. Trigger warning, she may have removed every post concerning that book on her page, but that doesn't change the fact that she, in her right mind, sat down and wrote a 16 to 17 chapter book about a man who developed a sexual interest on a girl since she was only 3, and her husband tells his workmates to go read his wife's new book. Please, that whole family needs a jail term. In addition, some users also realized that Tori Woods is the same person that was accused of plagiarizing fellow indie author S.T. Moores last year under the pen name Lauren Ashley. Tori Woods is Lauren Ashley, an author who plagiarized S.T. Moore's book Baron's Second Chance last year. Since being called out for that, she obviously abandoned the pen name Lauren Ashley and went with Tori Woods instead. I met Lauren in person at an author event in Sydney back in 2022. This was before all the controversy, and she just published her debut, as I had mine, with the same publisher. I know her voice. I've spoken to her in person, and when we were fellow indie authors, she sent me voice notes via DM. Tori was interviewed on a podcast, and lo and behold, it's Lauren's voice. There are also connections between her hair and rings to a photo of Tori, the one where she's holding her pedo book up in front of her face. This photo was posted by her PA, Mish. Mish supported Lauren even when she was outed for plagiarism. They obviously stayed in touch. Lauren's cover designer and old PA, Georgia, also designed the cover for Tori Woods' book. Georgia also defended Lauren through and through during the plagiarism controversy. These two people are claiming they had no idea and have severed ties with Tori, but have they with Lauren? You can't defend this author firstly for plagiarizing someone's work and then writing a book glorifying and romanticizing pedophilia. Telling people I don't know who it is or I can't name them for legal reasons, you know it's Lauren. You're friends with her and have been for years, so what's the explanation? S.T. Moores also spoke out about the controversy. Just saw the drama about that book, so when I saw who the author was, I instantly recognized her name, because I already have her blocked. Last July, my book, Baron's Second Chance, was plagiarized by an author who had 2,000 followers, already had books out, was friends with a big book group on Facebook, and had a pretty big book launch. The day the book was released, I got a ton of messages from readers of my book urging me to read her book. I won't go into details, but I have proof still on my page with side-by-side screenshots and videos re the plagiarized chapters. Yes, I did message the author before I went public, but she kept giving me the runaround and I instantly knew she was trying to be overly sweet to throw me off. She hasn't admitted to it. In fact, she still has a statement up denying it. The book group she is part of banned me, and her PA also messaged me saying I was doing this for clout and for my self-esteem. No apology or acknowledgement from her either. Anyway, apart from the author and the PA, no one ever messaged or commented on my page, maybe one person, saying I was making it up. The proof was too much for anyone to deny. The only other person who messaged me saying that I needed to apologize to the author and that I was only revealing this all for likes and comments, that author. The same author who is friends with the plagiarizing author and has other connections to her. And despite all the outcry, there was still a concerning amount of positive reviews on Amazon and Goodreads for Daddy's Little Toy before it was removed. 4.5 stars. Great book. Love the two main characters. Only reason for the 0.5 and not a full star is because I wish it wasn't such a slow burn. Otherwise, I really enjoyed the story. How much more of a slow burn did you need? That old man pounced on Lucy the second she was legal. My God. Then on March 19th, Woods released a statement on Instagram. Hi everyone, I think there's been a huge misunderstanding. You could say that. DLT is definitely not promoting or inciting anything ever to do with CSA or pedophilia. What is being said is grossly disturbing and breaks my heart as well as makes me sick. DLT is fictional and meant to represent the DDLG world. I understand where I went wrong, and that is why I had it removed from Amazon this morning. What happened between these characters, yes, started at a young age. No intercourse happened while she was young. Yes, there were thoughts, and I can see how that is frowned upon. Nothing happened like that until she was of age. I know nothing that I say is going to change or fix what I've written. It's fine, guys. Arthur waited until after Lucy was legal, so the lusting when she was a child doesn't count. There are, however, 3 innocent people who have been caught in the crossfire, and it needs to stop. Georgia, Misha, and Ashley, along with their businesses. These ladies were under no impression that I was Lauren Ashley writing as Tori Woods. I reached out to these ladies to work with them as Tori and only as Tori. Georgia was my PA for Lauren Ashley and had only ever read half of my very first book and decided it wasn't for her. Misha Taylor has read a couple of my books, but not this one in particular. Neither of them knew to the full extent what was in this book. Ashley edited this book. She had asked me some questions, and in my replies, I wasn't entirely truthful. She did not read over my final manuscript, which became the published, now unpublished version. I'm so sorry that I wasn't who I said I was, and I'm so sorry for the content in my book, and I'm even more sorry that this was missed as a trigger warning. I will be removing myself from the book community. If I ever get back to writing, I will not hide who it is, and I will make sure the people I work with know the full content of my books. However, I don't see that happening. I'm so sorry. I wonder why she didn't let her team read the full manuscript. It's almost like she knew how bad its contents were. Perhaps the New South Wales Police Department can let us know how bad Daddy's Little Toy actually was, because they seized several copies from Woods' house when she was arrested on March 21st. Tori Woods, aka Lauren Tesselin Mestrosa, former marketing executive of a Christian charity, was charged with possessing child abuse material, disseminating child abuse material, and producing child abuse material, police said. It's always the people you kind of suspect. Australia's Amendment of Crimes Act 1900 describes child abuse material as material that depicts or describes in a way that reasonable persons would regard as being, in all the circumstances, offensive. A person who is, appears to be, or is implied to be a child as a victim of torture, cruelty, or physical abuse. A person who is, appears to be, or is implied to be a child engaged in or apparently engaged in a sexual pose or sexual activity, whether or not in the presence of other persons. Or C, a person who is, appears to be, or is implied to be a child in the presence of another person who is engaged or apparently engaged in a sexual pose or sexual activity, the private parts of a person who is, appears to be, or is implied to be a child. The matters to be taken into account in deciding whether reasonable persons would regard particular material as being, in all the circumstances, offensive include the standards of morality, decency, and propriety generally accepted by reasonable adults, in the literary, artistic, or educational merit, if any, of the material, in the journalistic merit, if any, of the material, being the merit of the material as a record or report of a matter of public interest, in the general character of the material, including whether it is of a medical, legal, or scientific character. She was granted conditional bail and will appear before Blacktown Court on March 31st, aka the day this is uploaded. A spokesperson of her former employer, Baptist Care, told the press, "We can confirm that we received complaints regarding an unnamed employee late last week. As a result of these complaints, the employee was stood down effective on the 20th of March while we undertake an internal investigation. Baptist Care takes matters of ethical conduct seriously. Our focus remains on upholding the values and integrity of our organization." While I agree with most of the takes I've read on Daddy's Little Toy, I have to acknowledge the people who've been comparing it to Lolita and why they're wrong. For those who haven't read it, Lolita is a novel written by Vladimir Nabokov in 1955. And the narrator, Humbert, is writing the story from his jail cell as he awaits trial. He confesses that he groomed and his stepdaughter, Dolores Hayes, Lolita, from 12 to 14, describing Lolita and other girls her age as nymphets. While both novels have the similar premise of an older man preying on a teenager, the difference between them comes down to intent. In Lolita, we are not supposed to like Humbert. Nabokov portrayed him as a deeply disturbed individual because he was, though Humbert tried his darndest to get the reader to sympathize with him. It honestly reads like a horror novel, but pop culture has completely bastardized Lolita. When it came time to cast the 1962 film adaptation, Nabokov wanted Catherine de Mongeau to portray Lolita, but Stanley Kubrick went forward with Sue Lyon instead for marketability purposes. Nabokov was also vehemently against having a little girl on the cover of Lolita. I want pure colors, melting clouds, accurately drawn details, a sunburst above a receding road with the light reflected in furrows and ruts after rain, and no girls. But Daddy's Little Toy is the complete opposite. There's no indication that Arthur and Lucy's relationship is wrong. In fact, the author wants us to root for Arthur, to root for the relationship. The reader is supposed to derive pleasure from an adult man grooming a teenager into being his toy, a man who admitted to being attracted to her when she was 3 years old. And not only does society and the media objectify young girls, the nymphets of the world, I feel disgusting saying that, but family dynamics as a whole are also sexualized, which is why books like Daddy's Little Toy can be published. For example, why is the stepfamily category so popular on adult film websites? Look at movies like Twilight or shows such as Life with Derek. There should not be that much tension between siblings, even if they're not blood related. You can trace back stories of sexualized family dynamics to ancient Greek times with Oedipus Rex and Electra, which is actually the perfect segue into why families are sexualized. All this hullabaloo is thanks to this guy. And also this guy. In 1899, Sigmund Freud introduced the Oedipus complex. Freud theorized that children develop an attachment to their opposite sex parent throughout the psychosexual stages of childhood, and as a result, harbor resentment towards their same-sex parent. And this is based on the Greek tragedy Oedipus Rex. Specifically, during the phallic stage at 3 to 5 years old, kids who were assigned female at birth experience penis envy and realize they're inferior. So they begin hating their mothers for castrating them and turn to their father. In response, Freud's colleague Carl Jung came up with the Electra complex in 1913. Jung theorized that young girls from 3 to 6 view their mothers as psychosexual competition for their father's affection. Both complexes, both theories are unproven, but they have surely done a number on society. Freud, more like fraud, bitch. No one matched each other's freak quite like them. Freud and Jung walked so that the Frenemies podcast could run. Moral of the story, we should be able to talk about difficult topics, but in an empathetic and nuanced way. More like fraud, bitch. And a story of a teenager being objectified by her dad's friend is anything but that. And obviously, Daddy's Little Toy does not represent all of dark romance, so don't let this book taint your view of the whole genre. I'm very curious to hear what you think about Daddy's Little Toy, so please leave any and all your thoughts down below. And remember, 1 like equals 1 day added to Lauren's prison sentence. Kidding! Kinda. If you made it this far, thanks for listening, thanks to Raycon for sponsoring, and I'll see you very soon with a new video. Bye! Don't be weird!